Welcome, listeners. I have Nick Epley with us, and he is a John Templeton Keller Distinguished Service Professor of Behavioral Science and Director of the Family Center for Decision Research at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. He studies social cognition, how people think, and about other thinking people to understand why smart people so routinely misunderstand each other. His new book is a little more social, how small choices create unexpected happiness, health, and connection. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you so much for having me here, Julie.
I love a good PhD that like translates the evidence base, the research, and all the jargony stuff into real actionable advice. And a little
Thank
more
you.
social is just that. Like I
Thank you.
felt it was very grounded in steep research that you do all the time, but also like very thought-provoking about a topic that seems like obvious. Like, of course, relationships are important, right? But like, what do people get wrong, Nick, about
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. So it's not so much that the relationships are important part that our research focuses on. That is obvious. Kind of we all know that. The question is, if they're so important, why are we so often avoiding each other? Right. And that's really the core. So we've known for decades that we're happier when we reach out and connect with other people. We're healthier when we do this, even just in the moments of our lives, connecting with others tends to be a positive, pleasant experience. And yet if you look around the world over and over again, we have opportunities to connect with each other that we choose not to take. We don't talk to strangers. We type to each other rather than talking to each other. We get stuck in shallow conversations rather than having deeper ones. We feel grateful but don't express it. Could do something kind for someone but don't. Need help but don't ask for it. Just over and over and over again. This thing that seems obviously important is something we choose not to do. And that's really what our research is about, is connecting with other people is so darn good for us. Why are we doing it less often than we could?
Yeah. Yeah. And the research, time and time again, that you do is that people overestimate how hard or painful this
Yeah,
socialized
yeah,
experience is going to be.
yeah,
When in fact, it's a lot easier and it's a
yeah,
lot more quality than they were expecting.
yeah.
And so, why is that?
Yeah. So what we find, the barrier that keeps people from reaching out is us, is our beliefs. Not our
Mm,
beliefs about ourselves, as we pointed out just a moment ago. We kind of recognize that connecting with others tends to be positive. It's our beliefs about other people, social cognition, our thinking about others that we get wrong. And over again, we find across many different situations that we think other people will respond less positively when we reach out to connect with them in a warm and friendly way than other people actually do. And that pessimism creates a barrier that keeps
mm,
us from reaching out more often. Would it be easy? Would it be rewarding? Not just rewarding, but surprisingly rewarding.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. As I was reading the book and recognizing the power of relationships, and of course, my research on allyship, helping others helps you. And we know all this, right? We have that context, we have that rationale, but we don't always act on it. And I found myself really in quite a conundrum in the book as you were going through some of the exercises and examples. I was like, I've done
I
that.
see you. I'm
I
looking
was like,
right at you, Julie. I
oh,
see you.
I
Yes.
was like, let me hide real quick because I've had this experience where it's like I ask other people to ask for help and help each other, but like, do I ask for help? I don't
Yeah.
like that. That's very
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it speaks to a vulnerability, and I think a fear of like social rejection or,
Yes.
and we know how powerful that is, right? We're a social
Yep.
species. We're meant to like fit into groups. So being an outcast could have killed us in the past, not so much now, although you could argue it could. But
Yep. It does.
there's, it's just so interesting that we fight the very thing that could help us the most.
Yeah.
And Nick, one of the tidbits that I pulled away that was just so thought-provoking and easy to remember, listeners, is recognize easy opportunities routinely. Did I get that right?
You did. Yes. Does not
So
fit into a catchy acronym, but it's not that complicated.
I was like real.
Yeah, no, just yeah, don't go there. Just
Yeah,
four
I'm
words.
sure you
They're
tried.
they're important. It turns out it's important. Those four words.
Yeah, because it was at the end. And then
Yep.
what I love is it just tied the book in a big bow for me that like, oh, I need to one recognize. So I talk about this a lot with allyship is put your antenna up, be
Mm,
looking for
yeah,
opportunities, be looking for
yeah,
somebody that's being left out or overlooked or not given a fair chance. And easy, the easy thing to do, like the easy intervention, the very first step, the baby step, not I
Can
say don't jump in the deep end. Let's try the baby pool first.
can I unpack the recognize part just a bit more? Because I
Please.
think
Oh
that
yeah,
one
go for
is
it.
definitely the most important. I think the most important thing that comes out of our research is to recognize that social connection is a choice that you make. And not always. I mean, sometimes people come up to you, sometimes, right, you get approached and so on. But what we're talking about are cases where you have the opportunity to reach out and engage with other people. You have the power to do that, and we're choosing not to do it. So it's not so much the conversations you're having or the connections you're forming that our research is about. It's all the ones that you're missing, right? And all of our choices are kind of a tension between approaching, wanting to do this thing, and this avoidance motivation. Those are two independent systems that govern our
Yeah.
choices. Those are driven by our beliefs, our expectations about how a decision is going to unfold. In social life, it's about how an interaction is going to unfold. If I think that expressing my gratitude to you or asking for help, right? Two social
Right.
behaviors that really connect us to each other. If I think the gratitude's not going to feel so great. It's the wrong time. I won't get the words quite right. Or if I think you'll think less of me if I reach out and ask for help, right? I won't do it. And those beliefs we find over and over again are the ones that are mistaken. So recognizing those moments where you could be engaging but are choosing not to, even if they're small, that's where the easy part comes in. Even if they're small, psychologists have learned that happiness is really a function not of the intensity of experiences that you have, but rather the frequency of them,
Yeah.
right? Well-being comes and goes, right? It dissipates. You get used to everything. And that means that you have to kind of boost yourself up, experience those positive activities routinely over
Yeah.
the course of a day. And so
Yeah.
those moments really, really matter for our well-being. You got to recognize the times when you're choosing to avoid connecting with others when it'd otherwise be rewarding.
Yeah. Yeah. So easy. And then I guess opportunities and routinely, you've touched on a bit. Anything more to say there?
Opportunity is a little complicated. The actual psychological jargony term is affordances, but as we talked offline before we got on this, it doesn't. My wife
Doesn't
teased
translate
my
to the
wife
everyday
teased me about
person.
using that too much. I just didn't figure it was worth it to try to
It
get
sounds
readers
like
to
you're like a
understand.
king, like affordance.
I know it, yeah. Well, the idea is that we often think about situations too narrowly.
Yeah.
So, right, you're driving home, you're going to get coffee, you're on your way up to the office. All of those are opportunities to do something. You're doing something in a situation. You're driving, you're getting coffee, you're walking to your office. What we miss is that often those situations have multiple opportunities to them, right? You could add a person to all those. You could say your walk up to the office in the morning could it be an opportunity to say hi, greet people as you're on your way to the office, right? Your trip down to get your morning coffee could be an opportunity to grab somebody with you. Your time in the car, like I did this morning, taking my daughter to her day camp. We talked to grandpa and grandma on the phone. We're driving, yes, but that also
Yeah.
is an opportunity to bring other people into it. And because we tend to think about our opportunities a little too narrowly, we often also miss ways that we could add some social connection to those. And then routinely, that the key part of all of this, I think, is I think that I find our work to be fundamentally empowering in my own life. It shows the opportunities where I can choose to engage with other people or to hold back, and also the places where I could be getting this wrong and I could choose differently, right? But learning about this work isn't going to change your life unless you turn it into a habit that you do without really thinking about it. If you got to keep, this
Oh,
encouragement or this research on the top of your mind all the time, forget it, right? You'll do it once or twice and then not do it. It's only if you can put it into a context where you do it enough over time so that you don't think about it. Like my walk into the office in the morning, I practice the 10-5 rule. People are 10 feet away. I smile 5 feet away. I say hello. I've done that so often now when I walk into the office, it is just a persona I take on. I don't have to think about it anymore. That's the
yeah.
habitually part. And that's
10-5. 10 feet, five, at five, you smile.
10
Okay.
feet, you smile at them. At 5 feet, you say hello.
Oh, got it. Got it.
Comes
Okay.
from the world of hospitality, the Ritz-Carlton. Uh,
I
ostensibly.
love borrowing things that work. Yeah. Well, I've thought about you a lot. I'm like as I'm walking, because I was listening to it via audiobook,
Mm.
which is great because you read it, which I always love when the author reads
Yeah.
it and you're very excited at the parts that you need to be excited in. Um, I was listening to you, like walking down the street, seeing people like smile, Julie, say hello, like engage. I think I have a problem where I engage too much. Like
Mm.
I've been coached by like my daughter, who's more of an introvert, and my partner, who's definitely very introverted. It's like you're trying too hard. Like you're putting it on too much. Is that a thing, Nick? Coach me on this.
Um, it might be a thing for other people. I think you're learning that your daughter, like many kids, thinks their parents are weird. But I think that's all you're learning, right? And that's perfectly human.
She's 12. She's
Adolescent
supposed to
thing.
not like me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's supposed to think that you're weird and prefer you walk on the other side of the street, right? Um, so, I guess the question is how you're feeling about it. Is there
Yeah.
too much? There probably is. To the extent that it's inauthentic, that's too much.
Yeah.
But if your enthusiasm and interest in other people is genuine, I don't know. It
Yeah.
can, though, I will say, Julie, this is not in the book. My wife will sometimes comment that when we're out on a date, and this is an occupational hazard of my research,
Yeah. Yeah.
when we're
Yeah.
out on a date, we're celebrating 30 years of marriage this year. So we've been together for a very long time. But
Congrats.
she will still say, she'll sometimes have to tell me beforehand, honey, pay attention to me tonight. So I'm not, at
Mhm.
the play
Yep.
talking to the plumber sitting next to me or whatever.
Yep.
So
Been there.
she jokes when we're up here in the summertime. We're at a little place we have in Wisconsin on the water. She sometimes wants to buy a boat that's titled "A Little Less Social." That's, but that aside, for you yourself, there's probably not a limit to it as long as you
Yeah.
are authentic and
Yeah.
interested.
It's authentic.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's what I kind of gathered is like, don't try too hard. Like people are going to know if you're
yeah.
trying too
If you're
hard. You're going to
trying,
feel that.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you're trying too hard, that's the inauthentic part. But if you're
Yeah.
interested in other people, they tend to be interested in you back, and that tends to make it
Yeah.
it's better.
I love this. I love this. Thank you. That was
Mhm.
helpful and something you didn't cover in the book that I was also concerned about with myself.
Yeah.
Turning a little bit to the lens to the workplace, Nick.
Yeah.
So, I think, there's weird stuff in corporate America that you and I
Mhm.
see as an observer
Yeah.
now. How to socialize in like a meaningful, helpful way at work? What are some
Mhm.
tips you have for folks to use these practices at work?
The optimal number for connecting is two.
Okay.
And that's something we're not always in at work. We're sometimes in big groups, right? There's some meeting, right? And there are six of you sitting around a table. That's a hard place to connect, but trying to find opportunities to get to know what somebody's like outside of work in their own life, what they really care about. Um, that I think is the way to do it. Just getting to know people, as human beings. Bill Nye, famous science guy, once said wisely that everyone you ever meet knows something you don't. And that's true,
Yep.
right? The people who you work with at the office, you see sometimes in a boring office context, right? But they're every bit as interesting as you are. That is, they got a life outside of it. They got other things they like. They've got hopes and dreams, right? They've been to interesting places. They've done interesting things. Not everybody to the same extent, but when you take an interest in people and try to get to know them a little bit better, it tends to go well. And that's something I think there's really a lot of opportunity for that at work because we tend not to engage with each other in meaningful conversation. Our research
Mhm.
suggests that you can do that much more quickly than you think. It's appreciated by other people and more than you would guess. And that's how you connect at work. But
Yeah.
keep it small and ask meaningful stuff.
Yeah. So two people total or you and two people is optimal.
Yeah, I mean it's easier. Dyads are the easiest.
Okay. Just
Dyads are
two.
the
Yeah.
easiest.
One on
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
yeah,
I love a good heart to heart one on
yeah.
one.
There
It's
you
just,
go.
yeah. I'm a big fan of like the if you can, and I know there's always limitations at work, but a walk and talk, like
Hmm.
I learned the most from my team when I traveled with them or when I walked with them. And
Yeah,
that's something I'm trying out with my students this semester is like, hey, I'm like, they don't have conventional office hours. Most of us don't anymore post-COVID. And like, you want to do a walk and talk? Or, hey,
yeah,
I'm going to be walking. If you're on the phone, we just don't like
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
walking.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think better that way in the side
yeah,
by side. And it's just easier to talk about things a little bit more casually without a lot of like, yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
face to
yeah,
face.
yeah. I love doing that too. With my PhD students, I'll often do that, or visitors when we have visiting faculty come,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
to walk around. It gets you kind of out of the stuffy office, right? Everybody's a little bit more relaxed when I find when we're talking about ideas, the conversation can be a little more freewheeling, right? You also are kind of in it with each other a little better.
Hmm.
You're
Yeah.
not thinking about the next thing you got to do. You don't have your screen right there in front of you.
There's
Um,
just less pressure. Like I don't
yeah,
think my best when I feel under pressure, and it
yeah.
just eases that, and the connection feels stronger, and the support feels stronger to me.
The only
Um,
negative is not being able to write stuff down. So when I go on a walk
yeah,
and I carry my phone so that I
yeah,
can jot down
yep,
notes if I need to, but
yeah.
or
I'll do
no
like a
or
quick
notepad.
voice dictate afterwards or some download. But yeah, you miss details without a pad and paper in front of you. Okay. Switching gears one more time.
Yeah.
Nick, people that are different from you. So I talk a lot about allyship and in basic definition, I use the supporting others that are different from you. So it'd
Yeah.
be, of course, race and gender, but it could be a million other things,
Yep.
age, socioeconomics, just think big. We know we have affinity bias and we like people, we gravitate towards people like us. There's all
Hmm.
sorts of issues that work with that. We're like, who went to our school from our hometown, has the same hobbies as us.
Yeah.
And this happens at work a lot. So connection's important. I have found, and why I started studying research or studying allyship and writing about it was I have found my best connections, like my most aha moments have been from people that are different from me. You talk about somebody that knows something you don't, like they've lived
Hmm.
a whole different
Absolutely.
life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know you studied this with
Yeah.
political differences. Thoughts on this? Like somebody that's
Yeah.
different from you, like we resist again, we resist the thing that's going to be most helpful.
Yeah.
Advice, thoughts.
Yeah. So let me mention three things here, all of which suggest that at least some of this anxiety about approaching folks who are different, connecting with folks who are different, is something that explains our expectations, our beliefs about how this will unfold,
Yep.
rather than our actual experiences. So, one, my former PhD student, Adam Waits, who's a professor at Kellogg at Northwestern, has identified, documented, and published in a great paper that folks appreciate your efforts to be an ally more than the allies think. So that's one
Yep.
barrier you think it won't matter to them. It is an act of kindness, and it is a kind that's appreciated more than you'd guess. So that's
Yep.
second, um, is that some of homophily, some of the staying around people who are like us, comes not actually from liking people who are like us, but from worrying that people who aren't like us won't like us.
Bingo.
That is, homophily is also a social expectation, believing that this person who's different from you
Mhm.
doesn't want to talk to you or isn't interested in you or won't have anything in common with you.
Oh, I hear that all the time, Nick, from men as allies. Like the women don't want me there.
That
They don't
turns out
like
not to be
me.
true.
They're gonna think
They
I'm a creep.
They would be delighted as long as you're not a
Right.
creep, right? If you're a creep, then stay away. But if you are genuine in your interest and willingness to support, they will appreciate you more than you think. There's a lot of work on that. And again, it's not the important thing there is it's not people's beliefs about themselves, it's misunderstanding others. So that's an important one. Homophily isn't just showing people's own preferences for people like them. It's worrying that folks who are different from me won't like me, and that's a
Ooh,
mistake.
that's a new word for me. I've never heard that word before.
So there's a term I like, um, the homophily part of
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
yeah, homophily is liking of folks who are similar to you, right? But
Oh.
but somehow homophily is reactive,
Yep.
is I worry this person who's not like me, this woman, if I'm a man, or a black person, if I'm a white person, isn't gonna
Yeah.
appreciate me or want to talk with me. But of course, then you avoid them, and what you look like is somebody who doesn't want to interact with
Mhm.
somebody who's not like them, and that could be wrong.
Yep.
Right?
Okay.
And
Super helpful.
third, we find that when you actually do have people connect with someone who's different than you, in particular, to have some of the harder conversations, ostensibly harder conversations these days, that we can have, that is talking across political divides. People tend to think that Talking with someone who they agree with is going to be a much more pleasant experience than talking with someone they disagree with.
Yep.
um, it turns out, though, that if you are talking, that is, if you're actually having a conversation, not typing to each other, not monologuing to each other, if you are
Mhm.
actually having a conversation, conversation itself is extremely powerful for
Mhm.
surfacing common ground, for allowing people to show mutual interest, to reciprocate interest with each other, right? And so we find that when people have an actual conversation with someone they disagree with about some of the most major divisive political topics in the US, at least today, they report afterwards that having a conversation with someone they disagree with was actually just as pleasant an experience as having a conversation with someone they agree with. And they did
Hmm.
not anticipate that beforehand. The people they were most mistaken about, the context they were most mistaken about, is what it was going to be like to have an actual conversation with someone they disagree with.
Ah, yeah, Nick. Yeah, a real quick story. I experienced this as I was reading that chapter in the book. I experienced this a few years ago, and you caused me to reflect on this because I volunteered for a local school board election, and
Mm.
it was as polarizing as it could have been 2022. It was just like either you're
Oh yeah.
pro DEI or anti DEI, and I was like,
Yeah.
who's against inclusion in schools? Who are these weirdos? And, of course, I show up at my parking lot assignment for 3 hours one afternoon, and there's the other camp set up, like fully
Uh-huh.
set up. And I'm like, oh, I mean, my blood pressure went up. I got really nervous and sweaty. And I was like, this is going to be forever. Like 3 hours with this person. He's evil. And so, like, hour one went by, and I quickly realized, like, this is going to happen. So I just asked him, like, tell me about your platform. And he
Hmm.
went on for a little too long, to be honest. But then he paused. And I was like, oh, okay. So I like played back a little bit of what he said, because trained coach, I couldn't help
Yeah.
it. Be like, all right,
Yeah.
let's
A
validate.
little looping for understanding, a little parroting. Yeah.
I heard some of these things. Like, you mind if I share a bit about my platform? And, kind of shared a smaller version, we'll
Hmm.
say, like trimmed down
He
bullet
might have thought it went on too long too, though. We don't have his
points.
perspective, right?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, Dave. Yeah, you don't get a say in this one, but it was 20 minutes. It was like easily 20 minutes. So I was like, oh gosh, why did I do this? Like, but then I did because people reciprocate, as you talk about in the
Yeah.
book, like people do after I validated, he reciprocated. And, at the end of the 3 hours, and of course, we didn't change our minds.
Yep.
Worlds did not,
Yep.
magically
Yep.
become as inclusive as I would like. However, when I said goodbye, he shook my hand and he looked me right in the eye and he said, I have never met someone like you before. And I'll never forget that moment, right? Because he legitimately, and I don't
Yeah.
spend much time with people like him because of the reasons you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be so painful. I avoid.
Yeah.
And if we don't talk to each other, especially right now, like how are we ever gonna solve these problems? We're
Yeah.
talking to each other.
Yeah. Now, Julie, you said one interesting thing there. You said you didn't change your mind, but of course, in some ways, you both did, right?
Right.
Right?
That's true.
Some of that, oh, he's evil, right?
Yeah.
She's evil, right? That part. Well, okay. I mean, people have their reasons for the things that they do, and
Right.
everybody's trying to
Sure.
do the best they can. Not everybody's trying to do the best they can, but by and large, people are trying to do the best they can. And if
Yeah.
you understood their reasons, that you might not agree with them, but they would seem much more sensible
Yeah.
and reasonable. And you find that out when you talk to each other. And we're not going to agree on things. But the
Right.
part where civil society breaks down is when we start to think of the other side as evil,
Yep.
right? And scary, and therefore don't interact with each other. And you can disagree with each other constructively, fine. That's what democracy is about. But the state of
Right.
the world today, where we really legitimately fear the other side in some way, or think they're evil, that's what
Well, and you
right
strike
now.
a chord on the book on this. This emphasizes a lot. Brene Brown talks a lot about this too. Is like when you dehumanize someone, you give permission to treat them horribly. And so,
Right.
like the
Yep.
dehumanization part,
Yep.
as I was articulating, I
Yep.
like
As
to think I
evil.
didn't get
Yeah.
that dark, but like maybe a
Yeah.
little bit. I was
We were
pretty fired
driving.
up.
We were driving through. We were driving through Wisconsin, rural Wisconsin, about a month ago, and drove by a farm that had a big tractor tire out in front that was painted red sitting in the yard. And it had painted on it, handwritten lettering. You're not going to buy this at Walmart. Uh, Said, Satan loves Democrats. Right? Like, you know,
Bold.
That's dehumanization right there, right? Yeah, that doesn't help us. That doesn't help us work together and cooperate and get stuff done. So you did change your mind in that conversation to some extent, right?
And I've told that story quite a bit doing the
Yeah,
work I do, in effort to tell, hey, I tried it and it wasn't terrible. Like,
yeah,
I honestly am glad I did it. Like,
yeah,
try. Like,
yes.
but then, like, they're not going to try. Why should I? And we get all self-righteous.
They're
Like,
not
you
going to
need
try if you
to.
don't, right? So
Yeah, like, someone's got to go first. Like, might as well
exactly,
be you.
exactly, and you never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to talk to. Yeah,
Yeah. And you
learn
could be
something
totally
you didn't
wrong.
know.
Yeah, totally wrong. Ah, Nick, what a joy. Love that you live the work that you do. It's very clear that this is your purpose in life, and what a gift you have to explain all of this amazing research and translate it for us.
Thank you, Julie.
Um, Tell our listeners, where can they follow your work? I mean, Nick's everywhere. I saw Nick's book on every like book list of everyone I follow, and I was like, all right, I am reading this book, and once I read it, I was like, I must talk to him because it's such interesting, compelling storytelling research. I even reached out to my teacher, my school teacher, Nick, because you reached out. Real quick, do you
Love
mind
it.
sharing the story about the school teacher real
Oh
quick?
my goodness. My high school band teacher, Craig Ani from Cedar Rapids Prairie High School in Iowa, best teacher, one of the best teachers I've ever had, was just amazing. And I realized I was actually doing a podcast about our work and was kind of caught. The podcast host, this was on Hidden Brain, Shankar Vendantan asked me, yeah, Shankar asked me, is there somebody in your life who you feel grateful to, who you haven't expressed it to? And oh yeah, wait a minute, there is. And so it was Craig Ani, and he's amazing. I mean, he was able to get more out of us as high school band students than you ever could have imagined. His enthusiasm for what he was doing, whether you were excited about band or not. Anyway, I reached out to Mr. Ani in a text message. He writes back to me, right, explaining to him why I want to get in touch with him and how much I've appreciated him over the years and would love to get time to talk. And he writes me back a note saying that he's sitting at a park bench right now with tears in his eyes. And when I called him, we talked for about an hour. It was just among the best conversations I've had, that I can remember. We've since gotten together a few times in person. I've passed along my book to him. It's been lovely. Connected him again with a few of his former students too. It's just been lovely. And the question for me is, right? He existed for all these years. Why hadn't I reached out to him?
Yeah,
Right? Oh, the
yeah.
time is right. It's too late. It won't matter. Right? All these stupid
You won't
things.
remember me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All these stupid things that pop into our head, which are just wrong. It turns out
Mhm.
there's no bad time to get a note from somebody saying they appreciate you so much
Yeah.
or you love them so much, right? There's no bad time to get that. And that those people exist who we feel grateful to, but haven't reached out to. That's one good thing that any of your listeners right now could fix today. Those people shouldn't exist.
Uh, uh, I love that. Yeah, somebody that's had a positive impact on you, or just someone that you care about that you haven't talked to in a while. Reach out, tell them you care.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, I love that, Nick. All right. Um, so a little more social is the book. You can get it all the places you can get books. Nick, where can our listeners follow your work?
I do LinkedIn. That's the only social media I do. It makes me uncomfortable sometimes, but that is what I do, as best I can. Otherwise, you can find all of my papers at my website, nicholasepley.com. But everything I know is in the books. A little more social in my first book, Mindwise.
That's awesome, Nick. Thanks for the work you do and thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Julie. This was great fun.